Hello again, I am Blunty, and today I'm reviewing a router. Oh god, how tedious and boring, I hear you all cry out in unison. But wait, give me a chance here, don't switch off and go watch a funny video of a fluffy kitten with hilarious diarrhea just yet. Because this just may be a bit handy for you if you're a bit internet addicted like I am. You see, the trick to this little bugger, which is the Airlive Air3G router, is that it has a little USB port on the back, which isn't entirely unusual for a router these days. A lot of them let you plug in hard drives or printers and stuff like that, which is useful, but this one lets you plug in one of these little buggers, which is a 3G modem thingy, you know, the thing you plug into your laptop when you're on the road, and you plug that in there, and what happens is, if your main internet connection goes down, it switches on that and keeps you running on the internet, or the other way around. You can use that full time, and if that breaks down, it can switch to your other internet. Basic run around the hardware, it looks like you would expect your router to look, which is a small little square bit of plastic with blinking lights on the front to tell you what's going on with it. You ring it around the back there and you've got your LAN ports there, one of which can do power over Ethernet and one of which is for your modem to plug into. You've got your USB port there, which I mentioned at the beginning, and a reset if everything goes pear-shaped, and your antenna of course, and where the power goes in. It's unremarkable, but you know, an attractive enough design. It's not hideous, and it's got little bits on the back there so you can actually wall mount it if you need it to, which is a really nice touch. As far as its functions, performance and general usefulness as a router, it does all the routery things you'd expect a router to do, including a full list of, you know, options to change. And if you look at it, it's actually a really clean interface, one of the cleanest I've seen on a router. Usually they're awful interface because you don't have to go into them that often, but when you do, you want them to be good and intuitive and sensible, and this one is. So you've got your main page there with your setup wizard, and yes, the setup wizard does work nice and cleanly. You get a few clicks and a few punches of the keys and you're up and running really quickly. It's one of the nicest setup wizards I've ever experienced on a router, which I really wasn't expecting because, you know, it's not one of the big name ones like BLINKEN or anything like that, but it's really well put together. I was impressed. Next up, you've got it, like I said before in the intro, you've got a choice of running it in 3G only mode, in WAN only mode, which means you plug your regular internet modem is the word I'm looking for into it. You can go modem with the 3G backup, or you can go 3G with the modem backup, whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. You've got the usual options of a routery thing there as well. Next up, you can actually set this up as a hotspot, so you can run your own little internet cafe and charge people $5 for every 15 minutes for checking their email in Switzerland if you really wanted to, which is kind of neat. Of course, you've got the virtual server on there. If you don't know what that is, you don't need to know. If you do know what that is, it's handy to have it. You got the DMZ setting there again. If you don't know what it is, don't worry about it. You can do URL filtering, MAC filtering, IP filtering, and your DNS settings there as well. When it comes to wireless settings, you've got everything you could possibly need to use there, including which regulatory domain and which frequencies you use. So you can actually take this around with you to hotels overseas. You can actually set it up to the proper frequencies that are legal in that country, because not everyone knows this, but different countries have different Wi-Fi channels. I mean, they're all basically in the same set, but some extend that way a little bit further, some extend that way a little bit further, and it shifts around. So you can actually make that setting deliberate to the country you're in, so you don't wind up interfering with crap. Now, one of the other really interesting functions, and functions you don't see on every router out there, I mean, most of the stuff we just went through real quick, that's on most routers. Not all of them give you the level of control you get here, but all of them have, you know, that kind of general stuff. But where is it? With the Airlive, you can actually set up separate SSIDs. And if you don't know what SSID is, it's basically what the Wi-Fi is called. You know, when you hook up to a Wi-Fi service, it has a name. It's usually just the name of the router if no one's bothered to set up. Well, you can actually set up multiple ones on this, so you can have one router with several different Wi-Fi settings there, and you can actually control how much bandwidth each of those get. So if you are using it in sort of a cyber cafe situation, you can set up so they only get certain bandwidth there. Or if you've got kids and you want to just be a prick and restrict their bandwidth, or if you're in a share house perhaps and you're paying for the internet but you want the other guys to have a bit of internet as well, you can set up and you can tell the router how much bandwidth to give those guys. It's brilliantly useful. Now, in use in my testing, it's been reliable and bulletproof, basically. I'm actually really impressed by it. So it's not expensive. It's about 139 Australian dollars-ish, regular retail price, but you'll find it cheaper online. If you look in the description of this video you find a couple of different Australian websites where you can get them from. If you're not in Australia, just Google it, for crying out loud. At the base of it, what you've got here is a solid piece of hardware, not too expensive, really good interface, especially for a router. I know I keep coming back to that, but some routers just have awful user interfaces. Just want to make you dig your eyes out every time you have to change a setting. But this one isn't. It's really nice, and it's reliable, good coverage. It's a nice piece of hardware, basically. And of course, being able to plug in a 3G key and have that sitting there as backup, you know, if you've got my ISP at home, I pay for a really good service, and it almost never goes down on me, much like some girlfriends I've had. But if you do have a kind of crappy connection and you just need that reliability, there's no buggering around trying to find your key, plugging the computer, connecting it, and then you can't share it with the rest of it's just sitting there in your router. So when it loses the main connection, it goes, all right, fair enough then, I'll switch you on the 3G and keep you going. You don't have to change any settings. You barely notice anything. You know, you lose your connection for a second while this turns on, and you're away again. It's brilliantly handy just to have that reliable internet connection, and that's the main selling point of this as far as I'm concerned, in use in my home. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Blighty, and hopefully this has been a review of what is otherwise a boring piece of technology that has been moderately interesting to watch. And I will catch you next time.